Hey there, and welcome to the Contentment Creator Podcast, the podcast designed especially for creative entrepreneurs just like you who are committed to a beautiful life that's rooted in courage and contentment, and that's blooming with creativity and prosperity. I'm your host, Ellen Broen, a certified life coach, a singer, a mother, and a lover of alliteration, dogs, and deep conversation. This podcast is designed to become a part of your daily routine to help you, fellow contentment creator, dig deep to clarify your vision, catalyze your creative flow, and fuel your entrepreneurial fire in just a few inspiring minutes each day. Each episode will focus on how it truly is possible for you to be and have all that you desire through leveraging creative and courageous perspectives and practices. Please follow and rate this show on whatever podcast app you listen on so you never miss a day, and join me in my mission to help a world full of content creators become a world of contentment creators. Each Wednesday, we'll talk about community and connection, and today's episode is all about how to create a sense of belonging. Do you know what makes a great potluck? It's not just the food, though I will happily demolish a good mac and cheese. It's the people. A potluck is a microcosm of community. Everyone shows up with something to share, something uniquely theirs, and together, we create something none of us could have had on our own. And honestly, that's what real belonging feels like. A table full of dishes you didn't even know you craved. Today, we're talking about how to create your community and find belonging in relationships. Because let's be real, belonging isn't just about proximity or numbers. You can feel utterly alone in a crowded room, and you can feel completely held in a tiny circle of kindred spirits. Radha Agrawal, in her book Belong, says that belonging is a dance between the me and the we. It's that perfect balance between holding on to your individuality, your quirks, your values, your favorite carpool karaoke song, and leaning into the collective, contributing to a group that supports and challenges you. So, what does that dance look like on the outside and on the inside? Let's dive in. It's possible that right now there exists a community that already completely aligns with your values that you have or haven't found already. But I'll just say it. Most often, creators tend to create their own communities, since we prefer choosing over being chosen. But creating community requires both, just not in the way you might expect. Community can seem like a nice to have, but spoiler alert, it's not. It's a need, a core human need, like oxygen. And yet, I don't see y'all out here trying to hold your breath in resistance to breathing. So, what gives? Why would we resist community? Or perhaps the realer question is, why do we resist belonging? We'll come back to these questions, I promise. But for now, I'd like to start with the dance we do with others in community. The first step to creating community, whether you start one or join one, is shared core values. The thing is, you can share values with the community and still not jibe with it. Radha Agrawal says the essentials for community building, in addition to core values, include crafting rituals and aesthetics together, building a connection to your why, and creating a shared language. In my life, how that translates is based on professional and personal communities. Those groups for me have included health and fitness groups, musician communities, life coaching groups and programs, pregnant women communities, crunchy mom groups, business masterminds, women's circles, volunteer groups, spiritual or church communities, friend groups, and family systems. Each of these mirrors a part of who I am, and as I grow and change, some groups phase in and out of my life as those parts of myself become less of a priority, and some groups remain a constant source of connection and support for me. Wisely choosing the communities we invest ourselves in is a very important aspect of both our success as a creator and our success in creating contentment. Shared core values are at the heart of what makes a community supportive or not supportive. And even then, you have to consider that not everyone in the group, or even every group, will embody every core value for you. Just like in marriage, where one person can meet a lot of your needs, but not all, one community cannot completely meet your every need or shared value. So let's consider how this plays out for you. Think of the community you've been a part of for as long as you can remember. What do you have in common? What brings you together? What do you all value? This can be something tangible, like shared hobbies or a shared hometown, or this can be something intangible, like making each other laugh or being a ride or die for every life event. What are the things that you gain from remaining a part of this group? Likely, it's deep friendship or a sense of kinship from having shared many years of life together. For some, it might even go so far as to provide a sense of identity. This kind of community carries with it a unique challenge. When we preserve friendships for decades, we must confront the inevitability that we will change and grow as individuals. But these groups can sometimes stay a time capsule of a version of who we used to be and create a tension between the person we were, the person we are, and the person we seek to become. Now think of a community you've joined more recently. What do y'all have in common? What brought you together? What values do you all share? And for a little deeper digging, what parts of you does this group see that maybe the longtime groups don't? When we start a new relationship or join a new community, in some ways it's easier to be ourselves as we are now. We aren't engaging with anyone's preconceived notions about who we are, so we can meet them where we are today. But also, stepping into a newer community can come with the challenge of being vulnerable with strangers and building belonging from the start. Belonging is a funny thing. Our heart says that we want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. But then our inner critic hangs a big old do not enter sign on our front door to that connection. While building community is an outside job of finding people who align with you, building belonging is an inside job. A community cannot create our sense of belonging. We do. A highly active inner critic can be the worst enemy to feeling like we belong in a community because it'll convince us that we need to be more or different in order to be accepted. It may feel like we need to perform a certain role or way of being in order to fit in. Or it could trigger our sense of unworthiness or imposter syndrome and cause us to feel like we need to prove something about ourselves to others. As we spoke about in yesterday's episode, the antidote to these feelings of inadequacy is practicing self-acceptance and self-compassion. Another obstacle to belonging in a community is the fear or reluctance to show up as our true selves. That fear of judgment or rejection prevents us from truly being seen and known. And so we only give one part of our big, beautiful, multidimensional self, the part we think will be easiest for others to like or understand, and we hide the rest. There is no going around this fear. There is only going through it. We must choose to be courageously vulnerable about all of who we are if we truly seek belonging. The risk of being disappointed is great, but the reward of deep and meaningful connection is far greater. The last obstacle we'll address today with regards to finding our people is our tendency to lone wolf it. Sometimes that occurs because we see ourselves as a leader and not a peer, so we lean on self-reliance over trusting others. It could also occur when we other ourselves because we believe our struggles or unhappiness are uniquely ours and no one else, blocking the empathy and connection needed for an experience of community. We stay on the outside looking in and build up stories in our heads that nobody else gets it and we don't really belong here. This tends to stem from focusing more on what we don't have in common than what we do. Come back to the ties that bind you if you forget, and if you're feeling really bold, share a struggle out loud with your community. You may be surprised how many others totally get it. So let me take the plunge here with you and walk my talk. I'm here sharing my ponderings with you to create a community. I value vulnerability and being real. I value compassionate and direct communication. I value deep reflection and bold action. I value dreaming big and feeling fully. And the ritual I want to make with you is showing up here every day, Monday through Friday, and communicating with you if I need a break. Seeing me is to know that I'm both chill and dramatic, smart and silly, sensitive and non-judgmental, ambitious and nurturing, creative and logical, consistent and imperfect. There's nothing more I cherish than connection. So thank you for being here with me. Now, what are we taking with us from all this? Belonging isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. It's growing up, showing up, stepping up and sometimes tripping up in the process. And when you do it with consistency, you'll find your people to hold you up when you need it. So go cook up a storm of connection in your life today. I have no doubt you'll create a hella delicious potluck that's more nourishing than you ever imagined. And if you're curious about what lies at the foundation of creating consistency in our lives, join me here tomorrow. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by rating and reviewing in your app of choice. It would truly mean the world to me to hear from you.